name's Jake Vossenkemper, Director of Agronomy Research here for Liqui-Grow. No Katie, no Ella, no support people, but that's okay because I have a really important message for you today. So right now I'm actually down at the University of Illinois at another crop management conference. I go to a lot of these to stay informed for you all. But the buzz down here is really about the recent announcements with Dicamba and the federal label being made illegal. So I want to give you a little bit of background on my understanding of what's happened and what to expect. So during the last Dicamba relabeling event, apparently the EPA did not allow a long enough public comment period. And because of that, a federal judge in Arizona deemed the current EPA-approved label for Dicamba to be illegal. So therefore, there is no label for Dicamba currently. So what's next? Well, the EPA could seek to approve another label. That could be approved by the time we need to use post-applied Dicamba and soybean, but we don't know that. We don't know if the EPA will seek another label, and we don't know if it'll be approved by then. So we just don't know. As of yesterday, I want to be clear, this is of my understanding. As of yesterday, there was an announcement that said the EPA will allow to use Dicamba that a farmer has already purchased under the current label. But once that is gone, you cannot purchase any more Dicamba. That could vary by the state. That's what I heard from several people yesterday. I do not know the absolute facts on this. And just overall, this is my understanding of what happened. But what I really want to talk about today is what's next. Okay, so if it turns out you can't use over-the-top Dicamba to control difficult broadleaf weeds like water hemp, for example, what do you do? The best option is going to be glufosinate or Liberty or Ignite, okay? That's going to be your best option. Now, historically, under the right conditions, and if the weeds are small, glufosinate can do an excellent job at controlling water hemp. But remember, I said under the right conditions. We all know that in order to get glufosinate to work like it should, we need good coverage. So that means using medium droplet sizes to get good coverage. That means applying the glufosinate on sunny days. Somewhere between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. in the summer, you need good sun for it to work most effectively. The warmer and the higher humidity, the better. Use plenty of AMS. I would use the full labeled rate of AMS. Those are all things that I would do to ensure, and make sure you are killing the weeds when they're small, because it's a contact herbicide. You have to get coverage on the entire plant, and the smaller the plant, the less growing points, and the less leaf area that you have to cover, okay? So under all those conditions, glufosinate can work excellently, okay? Now, there's been one very recent development, and what that development looks like is, let me back up. You all know before that I've talked about how atrazine can really help improve the performance of an HPPD inhibitor, right? There's this synergism between those two. Well, some really new research suggests that there could be some synergism between PPO inhibitors like Cobra, Flexstar, and glufosinate. So in other words, if you use a PPO inhibitor with glufosinate, it really helps the glufosinate work better. And what we're finding is that's really the case under non-ideal conditions. So if you have cold temperatures, a cloudy day, obviously the glufosinate is not going to work that well. And that's where the PPO inhibitor can really help increase the effectiveness. On a warm, sunny day, you get good coverage, the weeds are small, glufosinate is probably going to kill the water hemp by itself. But it's under these non-ideal conditions that we really think a PPO inhibitor is going to help the glufosinate work. Now, there is something to consider though, okay? We all know that soybeans are tolerant to PPO inhibitors. They're not resistant, they can tolerate them. And if you don't know this already, Cobra, which is the active ingredient lactofen, used to be a reasonably effective PPO inhibitor on water hemp. Now, most of the water hemp populations are resistant to Cobra, or Lactofen. But the bad part about Lactofen is it can cause some really severe foliar injury in soybean. Enough foliar injury that it can definitely reduce yields, okay? And Liberty it's an oil-based herbicide. So if you use Liberty along with Lactofen, you're gonna really heat that up and you're gonna really cause some soybean injury. I would personally avoid using glufosinate and Liberty, or glufosinate and Cobra or Lactofen together, okay? I think a much safer alternative would be use something like fomosafen, which is the active ingredient in Flexstar, all right? So I think the combination of the glufosinate and Flexstar is going to be a great combination to help the glufosinate work better and avoid some of these situations where you may not get good control with glufosinate alone. But there is one caveat. The caveat is Flexstar, or the active ingredient fomosafen, has a 10-month carryover period. So that means if you apply this in July and you plant your corn in late April or May, you're going to be off label. And you could have carryover that injures the next corn crop, most importantly, okay? So if you're going to use Flexstar, you need to be on the safe side and get this Flexstar applied in June, all right? Now, to be honest with you, most of these labels are pretty conservative. So if we have a warm, wet winter next winter, that extra fomosafen is going to be broken down and it's not going to injure your corn crop. But if we have a dry, cold winter and the microbes aren't working very well, they're not breaking down the herbicide, you most definitely will and can injure your next corn crop. And I have been on multiple service calls looking at fomosafen carryover injury in corn over the years. So I really do think that glufosinate and Flexstar together could be a great combination if you can't use Dicamba. But remember, there's a 10-month plant back restriction, and keep that in mind. Thank you.
Stay in the know with Liqui-Grow.